There are a lot of videos showing you what to pack for a general trip, like the obvious: clothes for certain weather, your charger, money, maybe a pocket Wi-Fi, etc. But there's a few essential things you need to make sure you're carrying during your trip. First, a little hand towel. Yep, a little handkerchief would suffice since there's no dryer or paper towels in many public restrooms. I was able to get one as a souvenir with my name embroidered. Definitely a practical souvenir. You can find some in convenience stores or Daiso, but if you have one at home already, it shouldn't take too much space in your luggage and you might as well bring it with you. It'll help stop any extra spending that can go towards the rest of your trip. Oh, and it also helps in the summer when you're dripping with sweat. You'll see little kids to office workers in suit dabbing themselves with a little towel. Second, your passport. I mean, it goes without saying that you will have your passport on you if you're traveling from another country to Japan, but with the passport comes an opportunity to shop tax-free. They'll ask you if you're a tourist and they'll scan your passport. It's available to non-residents only and applies to foreigners who have been in Japan for less than 6 months. So that means if you've been in Japan for more than 6 months, or if you're currently working in Japan, it's not available to you. Keep in mind though, not all purchases are tax-free and this only applies in some stores. There's usually a required purchase amount of 5,000 yen for general goods like clothes, bags, and home appliances. For consumables or cosmetics, the total purchase amount must fall within the range of 5,000 to 500,000 yen in one day at a single store. The catch is that these will sometimes be packaged in a way where it cannot be opened or consumed while you're in Japan. Consumables are packed in a specific bag with a sealed sticker, and these must not be opened before leaving the country. If they're tampered with, you will be subject to paying original tax amount at customs. Now, both times I've been to Japan, they have never checked my items as I was leaving the country, but both times was a different experience. For my first trip in 2019, I had to hold all my receipts from tax-free stores and place them in a basket at customs at the airport. However, my trip in 2023, they didn't check anything at all. However, I would exercise caution and just follow the rules just in case. If you think you'll be opening your purchases, maybe opting out of tax-free might be a good idea. Third thing is a little coin purse. Japan is still very cash-oriented, and their smaller currency includes a lot of coins like 10 yen, 50 yen, 100 yen, and 500 yen coins, which you definitely will be using. A coin purse helps a lot, so you're not throwing your change into a backpack and shuffling through them holding up a line. People have got places to go, man. Be sure to use as much of these coins as you can before you leave. Convenience stores have a slot that allows you to dump the coins in, and it'll easily sort out the amount for you. It's not like America where the clerk has to count each change one by one. In Japan, they just dump the handful into a slot like a coin sorter. Next is probably covered in a lot of video, and it's pretty obvious not to lose this, but if you purchased a JR pass or a Japan Rail pass, keep this glued to your body. Do not lose it. These are not refundable and cannot be reissued if lost or stolen. The JR exchange office will only accept original physical ticket, and those cannot be reprinted or reproduced. No electronic versions, scanned copies, or email confirmation will be accepted. Pretty straightforward with that. So if you have a go-to bag you'll be carrying your entire trip with you, keep this in that bag. Guard it as close as you would your passport. Don't shove them into your pocket after you've scanned them. It will find its way out somehow. Next is another pretty obvious thing, and it's a charger or a power bank. Make sure you keep those fully charged when you get back to the hotel or wherever you're staying. This is especially important if you're not familiar with Japan. You'll need your phone to guide you through the station and the streets, and the last thing you want is for your phone not to turn on. There goes your map and Google Translate if you need to communicate with someone for directions. This is not a sponsored video, but personally, my favorite brand for chargers is Anchor. It charges the phone really quick and they come in all different sizes. Of course, there are other essentials you might need, and it varies from person to person. But from my experience, I always needed those items on hand. These next few items are more of suggestions to make the trip a little more comfortable. One of my trips was in September, and it was towards the tail end of summer, so it was pretty warm for my standard. It was in the 90s degree Fahrenheit, and we did tons of walking and even hiked in the Arashiyama mountain to the monkey park. Fortunately, I brought an electronic fan I could charge and tumbler to fill with ice water. If you don't want to spend on an electronic fan, a handheld fan or whatever pamphlet you have would work. If you do a lot of walking, I would suggest bringing a tumbler with you. Of course, if you're planning to go to the airport, make sure they're empty before going through TSA. Fill them up at the hotel or restaurants later on. If this was 2019, I would have listed pocket Wi-Fi as a priority and it would have been at the top of this list. But nowadays, there are eSIMs or digital SIM cards for those who need data for internet access. So you don't necessarily have to physically carry a pocket Wi-Fi around. Again, this preference will vary by individuals, their phone plans, and how often they use data. While you can rent a pocket Wi-Fi and pick it up at the airport, there's also the option of digital SIM cards, as I mentioned. I personally prefer this since it saved me the hassle of picking up the pocket Wi-Fi, charging the pocket Wi-Fi, and returning the pocket Wi-Fi at the end of the trip. My friends introduced me to Airalo, and what's cool is that it has coverage in over 200 countries. If you have credits left over from one trip, you can use it for your next trip. For Japan, there are 6 different plans, and you can choose depending on how much data you need. Each plan also has date of validity. There's a 7-day plan, 15 days, and 30 days. As someone who had to constantly pull up maps the entire day, Google places to eat, and share stories on Instagram, I had to look for the max data available, which was the 20 gigabyte. A little embarrassed to say that was still not enough for me, but ultimately $26 for 20 gigabyte is still a pretty good deal. If you're not one to use social media a lot on trips, 20 gigabyte will definitely be plenty. If you find you'll need less than 20 gigabyte, there are other options. There's 1 gigabyte for $450, 2 gigabyte for $650, 3 gigabyte for $850, 5 gigabyte for $1150, and 10 gigabyte for $18. If you're using data throughout your trip, be sure to check your Airalo app often and see how much data you have left. Lastly, what you'll need is plenty of space in your suitcase, or if you're like me, an extra suitcase for all the souvenirs. My friends brought an extra duffel bag but found they bought too much and had to limit themselves. I brought a small suitcase inside a bigger suitcase, and I definitely filled it to the brim. I mean, I would rather bring an extra luggage than limit myself to what I'm buying, especially if I'm flying all the way to Japan already. Who knows when I'll be back? I hope this video provided some insight to some things that may not have crossed your mind prior. If it did, please leave a like so it lets me know my video was a bit helpful at all. As you can tell, my video uploads are a bit out of order. I have vlogs and tips for Japan, but also some videos coming from Vegas. That's because the Japan videos take a bit longer to edit, but there will be more soon. So far, I have videos that briefly covered how much Japan cost, where to buy souvenirs, what to do in Ikebukuro, and Japan hotel on a budget. On top of that, I have a few vlogs checking out Ginza, Tsukiji Fish Market walkthrough, Universal Studios Japan, and Tokyo Disneyland. If there's something you would like me to cover, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and if you're planning for your Japan trip, good luck, stay safe, and have fun.